Laptop, pen. Today we're going from blank page all the way to this Baby Yoda drawing. Who's ready to have some fun? Let's get started on this Baby Yoda drawing. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw all of the basic shapes of Baby Yoda, which in this situation is an oval for the head, some triangle type shapes for the ears, and kind of a potato sack looking torso. Feel free to follow along and draw this with me, and you can do so with a tablet like I am, or you can use paper, a pencil, markers, colored pencils, whatever you feel comfortable with. And remember to have fun with it. Drawing should be a fun and relaxing hobby. So remember to have fun with this. And if you need to take some breaks, you can pause the video. If the video is moving too fast for you, just pause it and draw the part I have on the screen and then keep going. I think one of the cutest scenes of Grogu or Baby Yoda, and I'll use those terms interchangeably here, in The Mandalorian is when he has the frog in his mouth and kind of gets caught eating the frog. So I thought it would be cool to try to draw Baby Yoda with a frog in his mouth in this drawing. My goal here was to draw Baby Yoda looking as cute as he possibly could, but also kind of drawing him in a unique style that I haven't seen before. So I used Pikachu in the reference image here with the lollipop as the heavy inspiration for this project. I'm somebody who uses reference images when I make art, so the subview window there on the right with Pikachu will have various different images of Pikachu as well as Baby Yoda as I continue this drawing. And actually this drawing right here in the subview window is a previous drawing that I did, and I'll link to the video for that particular drawing in the description. Feel free to check that out. Going back to the Pikachu inspiration, when Pokemon first came out, Pikachu was a little bit more chubby. Some people refer to him as like chubby or fat Pikachu, and that's the Pikachu that I grew up with and know and love. So I kind of wanted Grogu to be a little bit chubby here, and that's why I was drawing his cheeks with a little bit of extra skin there on the sides. I just personally think he looks cuter that way. So now we've moved kind of past the basic shapes part of the drawing, and I'm starting to add some detail into our Baby Yoda drawing. So one of the things I'm noticing right off the bat is I think the ears aren't big enough, and I'll address that in a little bit. Right now they kind of look like baby elephant ears, which is cute, but I want it to look more like Baby Yoda, and his ears are a lot longer than that. For those of you who are following along with a tablet, I personally use tons of layers when I'm making any drawing, and you can see the layers all the way on the right of the tablet next to the subview window. I will use maybe 100 layers during a drawing, even a drawing like this, and it's something that I like to do because I can draw on the layer, change the opacity, and then draw the next layer on top of it, kind of building on what I've already done. And this is kind of the biggest reason why I've almost exclusively moved all of my art projects to digital art, just because of the freedom it gives you with layers, the ability to undo, erase things more easily. But if you're drawing this on paper, just be careful, take your time, and draw lightly so that you can erase things if needed. Sometimes I like to scribble in the eyes like that just to see what they look like colored. Now it's time to get back to the ear size, and I'm trying to draw a similar shape to what I already had, but just make the ears a lot longer, just because Grogu has long ears. Another thing that I'm toying with is the wrinkles you see me drawing there. And I know that Baby Yoda doesn't have quite as many wrinkles as Yoda, but he does have some, so we've got to figure out a way to do that effectively. Next, I'm going to add in some details to the actual frog, as well as Baby Yoda's hands and feet. And I'm kind of just going through and trying to add details little by little as I add new layers and draw over top the layers from before. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, please remember to hit like, please remember to hit subscribe so you can get more content like this and so you don't miss any new videos from me. One of the other tools that I use quite a bit, and actually it's not even really a tool, it's more of a feature of the pen tool or any kind of pen pencil tool within Clip Studio Paint, which is the platform I'm using to draw this, is the line stabilization feature. So when I'm drawing lines like you're seeing right here, I'm using the stabilization feature turned up, I think almost to 100, if not 100, just to give myself a little bit of lag when I'm drawing. And all that really means is that the line just shows up a little bit after my pencil touches the screen. This can be a really helpful feature when you're trying to draw clean or straight line art, and I think that most digital art platforms have this tool or have some version of this tool. When I get to a certain point in the drawing, and this is probably that point, I kind of start to think to myself, what looks right about this and what do I need to critique about this? And then I'll go through and try to be as honest with myself as possible and start adjusting things and trying to fix things, make things look a little bit more like I had them in my head when I imagined the drawing. And this part of the drawing is actually a really good example of the line stabilization tool that I was using earlier. This is a tool that I, again, use especially when I'm doing my final line art right before I start to color a piece. Drawing the frog legs here definitely proved to be a challenge for sure. I mean, this is something I've never even drawn a frog before, which is funny to think about, but it's something that I had to keep kind of looking at and saying, does this look like the frog is hanging out of his mouth? Is that the way that should look? And kind of just going through that process and figuring out what that should look like. I think the creators of The Mandalorian did a very good job creating compelling characters and interesting looking characters. And whoever did the character design for Grogu really nailed it. I mean, I think Grogu is one of the cutest characters in the Star Wars universe. He's actually my wife's favorite character in the Star Wars universe, and it was kind of one of those things where the first time she saw him, she was like, oh my god, what is that character is so cute, and she was just completely obsessed with him from that point on. And the interesting thing about Grogu is that he's only been around since 2019, so just about 6 years ago we were introduced to him, and he's kind of just this like cultural icon at this point, and a lot of it has to do with the cuteness factor. He's just a really cute character. I think everybody universally thinks that. Okay, so just about done with the line art phase here. Now I'm gonna start by trying to color the eyes first. So Grogu's eyes are really dark, and when I was coloring the eyes, I was kind of trying to, again, take that inspiration from the Pokemon universe and kind of color his eyes similar to how a lot of Pokemon have their eyes colored, where you've got either a light or dark base to the eye, and then you kind of blend it in with the iris color. And then I'm trying to put in where the pupils and the highlights of the eye are gonna go to kind of make them glisten and look shiny. And I didn't draw Grogu's eyes here exactly how they are in the show. I kind of took some liberties with it, but I do like the way it ended up turning out. As I'm coloring in the eyes and trying to figure out where the pupils go, I'm using the lasso tool to kind of change the size of the pupils, and using the circle tool to add in the little highlights here. And I'm also using the blur tool instead of the blend tool, because I find it gives it a nicer effect to blur and make that glisten a little bit. Now that the eyes are looking good, it's time to start coloring the rest of Grogu. So I'm trying to get in here and figure out what shades I want to use. And I want to use a little bit different color skin tone than what I did last time in that subview Grogu on the right. I feel like the coloring part of the art process is the most fun part, because I won't let myself color something until I'm happy with the line art. So that means that when it's time to color, that I'm happy with the way the actual drawing looks. So then the rest of the drawing, I'm kind of like just having as much fun with it as possible. Once base colors are done, then it's time for shading. And the way that I usually approach shading is I will pick a direction of light that I want to try to do, and then I'll just start shading things accordingly And during this process, I will shade things a lot and then undo or erase it with the lasso tool and redo it until I start to feel like it looks like a proper way of shading something. So it's kind of just a trial and error thing. I've touched on the lasso tool a little bit in this video, but the lasso tool is actually one of the best tools I think a digital artist can use, and it's one that I use most often. And it's not just for resizing things or coloring things. You can also use it to erase things, which I use more than the actual eraser. So that's something to keep in mind and to keep in your toolbox or tool bag when you're doing digital art. I'm just about done with the shading here, and the next thing I'm gonna do is the line weighting, which is something that I actually usually will do before I even color something, but for this particular drawing, for whatever reason, I waited until the end. And basically all I'm doing with the line weighting is just adding in some weight or some thickness to certain lines in order to make the entire drawing stand out or pop. And I just like the way it looks. I feel like it gives a more professional and finished feel. Okay, Grogu's all done. I'm gonna add a background off screen and check out the final version. Okay, so I added this background off screen for Grogu, and I wanted to do kind of like a promo picture within picture. So the outside part has like a concrete look, and then I reused some of the background from that previous Grogu drawing I talked about earlier and added a cool cross-hatched texture on top of Baby Yoda here, and I really like the way I finished this one. I did end up using some Star Wars lettering over here on the right, and that should say Grogu, or at least that's what I think and tried to make it say. So what do you guys think? Did you have fun following along and drawing this Baby Yoda with me? Also, how did you do with it? And be sure to let me know which character you'd like to see me draw next. Thanks!